What's the difference between sending sexually explicit material to a minor directly and knowingly putting it on a platform with a child centric demographic? Now, I think hypothetically one could argue that it falls into the parents' hands to moderate the child's use of technology, but in my opinion, that's what the terms of service is for, is to moderate what is and is not being seen and or posted. Now, generally speaking, I would be a free speech absolutist, but in this case, I think that if there's going to be censorship and a clean platform that's supposed to be safe for everyone, then it should be just that. There can be some culpable responsibility placed upon the moderators themselves for unreliably enforcing or not enforcing the TOS in various instances, but realistically speaking, this is the internet, and where there's space for shenanigans, shenanigans shall take place. It's one thing whenever you have like gore up in a private group somewhere, or generously endowed women exposing themselves to pay pigs. But when the literal fucking advertisements I'm receiving on this website are for Timu crack pipes and washed OnlyFan models' exposed labias, I begin to question the exact number of fucks that anyone at the top gives. Do you understand the actual short circuit I experience every time I go directly from my grandmother's face to somebody's daughter going full goatsy at the camera? In some instances, they will be wearing articles of clothing, which is a generous description at best, and a blatant lie at worst because I can literally see this woman's entire female anatomy. I aced health class and sex ed, so when I'm telling you I can distinguish her clitoris minora and majora, I'm not fucking lying to you. And I feel like the idea is that sex sells, and the monkey ape brain men coom scrolling their cherry picked algorithms will just drool and nod. But anybody who has more than two brain cells and an erection can deduce the obvious moral implications of exposing children to just straight up fucking porn. And I realize that because of the accessibility of technology, a lot of innocence has been lost on the newer generation of children. For example, when I was like 10, I was playing my 360, riding my bike, and plotting my silly goose world domination. Subscribe, by the way. I didn't even have a phone. Now there are 10-year-olds with TikTok followings that could populate fucking cities. I just carbon dated myself for sure and probably cemented my unk status, but I understand the paradigm shift. I think that there's also something to be said about the progression of how dense advertising has become. No matter where you go or what you do on this website, you will get an ad. Shit, they recently implemented pause screen ads. I love opening YouTube, seeing an ad before a thumbnail, clicking a video, watching two ads, pausing the video, seeing an ad, watching the rest of the video, seeing an ad, getting done watching that video and seeing an ad. The next step is ads in the search bar and in the settings page. I'm calling it. Now, obviously, if there's going to be an increase in the amount of advertising being shown, there's going to be a proportionate rise in the amount of inappropriate advertising being shown as well. This parallel growth is an understandable progression. However, what is not understandable is the concept that if you have YouTube as your primary source of income, that can be threatened by so many different variables that are inconsistently enforced and constantly changing, all to appease advertisers for YouTube when the ads they themselves are running would violate YouTube's terms of service. This is what we in the showbiz would refer to as a predatory business practice, or alternatively, some bullshit. YouTube was founded on the concept of you-tubing on the interwebs because, of course, as we know, it is all a series of tubes. But how much sense does it make for a business to be anti consumer when the consumer is also the business? This is one of those cases where the consumerism runs strong in this instance. So, even if the business practice is anti consumer, we the consumer shall continue to consume. Mostly because for the average watcher, it's free. Sure, there's a couple ads here, an unskippable ad there, but hey, what's the big whoop? Well, to a creator or a true consumer, the hypocrisy is on full display, and metaphorically speaking, the hand that feeds them more often than not ends up biting them as well. This issue is not unique to any one platform. Unfortunately, these issues are prevalent in most of, if not all, of the major platforms. Whether that be favoritism, with Twitch's million and one examples of their bias and unfair enforcement of TOS, whether it be blatant unsympathetic greed, such as in YouTube's case, changing the viscosity of their fluid morality only to fit whatever criteria fills their pockets exclusively. Or places like Kick and Rumble, where the moderation is so lax and the requirement for professionalism is so low that the platform slowly devolves into essentially the Wild West, but if the Wild West was mostly pedophiles and incels instead of cowboys and whiskey. I know that I've kind of jumped all over the place with the shit I've spoken on, but all the points that I've brought to your attention in this video generally illustrate one thing: that no one fucking cares. I mean, maybe that's a little obvious and I'm unoriginal for making a whole ass video about it, but they really don't, and let me explain. The average viewer doesn't care about the vast majority of online issues, let alone the smaller ones that don't affect them in any way. Why does Jim Bob care if Twitch is having an adpocalypse? He probably doesn't even know that's a thing or understand the reasoning, let alone the implication that it has on so many people's livelihoods. Half of people who are active in the online ecosystem don't care because that's how politics works. There's your side and there's the other side. And for a large portion of individuals, no matter how ignorant that thought process may be, it still is. There's people who stand against deplatforming who have either endorsed, called for, or agreed with others deplatforming just because they don't agree. There are people who run in troves by the thousands waiting to shit on whoever their parasocial host disapproves of. So, hypothetically, if it was fuck the other guy, that sentiment would be left to bounce around in that echo chamber forever. They don't have their own opinion, so therefore they can't care. They don't. There are content creators that are favored, and that's not an opinion, that's just a provable fact through like 5 minutes of research and common sense. Like Hassan, why would anybody try to defend him? We all know that he's been mashing Dan's peas.
America deserved 9/11. Did you mean that?
Yeah.
But if your Twitch is golden boy, why the fuck would you care? You don't. The top creators don't. If you're, let's say, the owner of one of these companies or any figure with some kind of authority, why would you care? You are the system. You are already rich. What you have established is responsible for that. So why would you ever change it to benefit anyone else? You wouldn't. They don't. So literally from the top to the bottom, there's, out of those 6 things that I just listed, maybe half of one option that cares, that is such a small minority with such little sway that it is typically inconsequential to the overall goal of moving forward in a manner that isn't predatory to anyone besides the predators themselves. It is an objective fact that the establishment is predatory for allowing sexually explicit material to be advertised for their profit. When you have stripped the profit from your means of production, that being us, for far less sexually gratuitous and offensive things. Fuck the system.